Hello, welcome back to another Manga Talks video. Today we're going to go through a number of manga. A lot of them are related to upcoming releases, but a book I hold as well, that sort of thing. So the first one I wanted to start off with to get into it is this one here. So this is called After School Demons by Tanima Yumeji. So I have quite a number of Tanima Yumeji books that I have not read yet. If you have read, saw my video from like last year with like this big horror haul, these alongside some Kandamori purchases were a part of that, and all of these I have not read yet, so I am taking my time with Tanima Yumeji, still looking out as much as I can for different Tanima Yumeji books that pop up, but they are very rare, very hard to find, unfortunately, but that's why I'm taking my time with them. So this one specifically, After School Demons, it's not a short story collection. The whole book is just one story, and this specifically says it's like a newly drawn work. So it wasn't, I don't think it was published in like a magazine. It was specifically drawn to be put into this tankobon format, and I am loving this so far. I'm halfway through, and it's a story about a girl who is quite sickly. She moves into like the countryside, and a lot of the start of the story is we get to see her kind of fitting in, but there's this weird worm that pops up at the start of the story that will be featured later on. And what I've seen so far is essentially they try to play this game like Kokuri-san, and then things start to happen specifically with worms. So if I were to find they play it here, and they summon this sort of demon with worms, and that's the one on the cover. And so at the current point in time, in terms of my story, of where I'm up to in the story, is we're trying to figure out what her connection is to these worms. And so there's something to do with her being able to see demons, maybe, something like that. So I'll show off the rest of the book here. I'm not going to look because it's going to be spoilers for myself. But Tanima Yumeji, this specific book I found really interesting because maybe it's the fact that this was written and drawn separately to be put into a tankobon, that the art, from what I've seen, is a lot better than some of the other Tanima Yumeji stuff I've read. I can't confirm exactly, so that's why I brought these books out to check. But yeah, like some of the other books that I've read from them are one-shot collections that, you know, serialized in like Horror M or anything like that. And there is a big difference in the way that they kind of screen tone and shade their panels throughout the other stuff compared to this specifically newly drawn work. So I enjoy, like, this has been my favorite in terms of Tanima Yumeji's art styles. So it's going to be interesting to see how it compares to these other books that I have from them as well. But yeah, Tanima Yumeji is an author that I really want to see in English. Now that we actually have Naono Yoshiko's Hide and Seek in English by Smudge, I think it's a lot more, I wouldn't say likely, but it makes more sense because Naono Yoshiko, the style that she has for her horror manga is kind of, you can see similarities to this one, where it's like more on the shoujo looking side of things. I'll actually pull that up right now. Currently, I don't actually have the English version of Naono Yoshiko's works. I'm still waiting at the moment to get it. I know I shouldn't wait too long, but I'm just trying to see which shop has it first before I buy it. But this is not the original, but this was the reprint Bunko edition that came out a couple years ago that was put together. And the title for this one is Woolen Pants instead of Hide and Seek, but I believe it might have like the English edition might have all of these stories or most of them. There's the cover there. But I did enjoy this one. Like, not every story was my favorite though, but it was still a great read. And so I will be picking up the English edition sometime in the future, but I do see some similarities between Naono Yoshiko and Tanima Yumeji, and so that's why I think that maybe Tanima Yumeji has a chance to be published in English by Smudge, because Smudge is kind of like the main avenue of where we're going to get all these old, rare, insane horror manga. And speaking of Smudge, they've also announced a new license, a new publication from Shirakawa Marina, who had previously put out the UFO Mushroom Invasion book. So this is one of the first, I'm not sure if this is the first or second book put out by Smudge, but we are getting yet another work from them. This time it's called Mother, Please Don't Give Birth to a Monster, and the cover of it looks sick. But just to remind anyone of what Marina's style looks like, this is the English edition of that. I also do have the Japanese edition of UFO Mushroom Invasion, but not the original that costs a lot of money. The reprint that was like a mushroom anthology. I did a separate video on that specifically, going through every story. So if you are interested in that and interested in seeing what it looks like in Japanese, because they had like some cool not color editions, but like the ink had different colors throughout the book, check that video out as well. So very excited to find more Marina Shirakawa. It's great because I don't have to spend tons of money just to read Marina. So Smudge, Ryan Holberg, Living the Line is doing such an immense and important service to a lot of manga readers who are interested in that vintage horror manga. So yeah, that is what I'm currently reading at the moment. Very, very enjoyable, and I will take my time with the rest of these Tanima Yumeji stories, and hopefully we'll come into contact with some more Tanima Yumeji that yeah, I really want to read, because they never show up at all. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, it's not going to be this book specifically. I'm just bringing this out because it's an announcement related to this author. So as you may know, my previous video, I did show off a box set, a new box set by Kazuo Umezu that reprints a lot of the Nakayoshi stories, the supplements that he had. So these books here, these are the perfection editions of Orochi, a short story series also by Umezz, but the announcement is not related to this. It's related to The Drifting Classroom, which is another big, one of his most well-known works. And so what that announcement is that they are releasing a definitive edition, which is B5 size, that will reprint the series. And so what I'm going to do is, as I talk, I'll just flip through these just so you can have something to look at. But it's going to be very interesting because I personally do not have an edition, like a physical book of The Drifting Classroom. I have always wanted to get the perfection edition of The Drifting Classroom, which is 3 volumes long, and it's like huge books. They are like very thick and big, and so they're like, I don't know how, like a lot. It costs a lot for each volume, and that's why I never really picked up The Drifting Classroom Perfection Edition. You know, I have Orochi in Perfection. I've got My Name is Shingo in Perfection. Shingo was also quite expensive too, but they were more prioritized for me than The Drifting Classroom was. And so now that we have this announcement, I forgot. I'll put a link to the Twitter post. I forgot what publisher is doing it, but the first volume of the definitive edition is slated to be released in June 19 this year. They said there will be 5 volumes in total, and they said they will replicate like the size of the magazine it came out in, so it will be B5 size, which is similar to this. So if you have the this edition, it's similar where I think the width is similar, and then the height might be a bit taller in terms of what the Umezz edition is going to be. So and this already is quite a hefty book, so that's great. I'm going to wait though. I'm not too sure what I would want to get, like whether I would want to get it or not, because I was told that the Perfection Edition doesn't have color pages, and I don't know whether this new definitive edition will have color pages. And I also do want to see what the cover looks like, the book design. It's only just an announcement, so we don't have any visuals as to what the book will look like, the quality of it. And so yeah, I'm gonna wait for that. But something exciting to look forward to. As of right now, they have provided a link to the Amazon page where you can pre-order it. That right now it costs, I think it said 45 AUD from what I saw, which is like times that by 5, 200. I guess it might be the same price as the Perfection at the end of the day, but we will see. But anyways, in terms of Orochi, these are my favorite Umezz covers that I own of all time. They're having black and white plus gold foil like print on the writing, and just each cover is just one full image. Amazing. It is like, not only is it one of my favorite cover series for Umezz, but in my collection in general. So Orochi specifically, I read years and years ago. It's been a long time since I have touched it, so I actually haven't gone through these specific books yet. So I do eventually want to reread Orochi, as so with Drifting Classroom as well, but I'm going to wait specifically for whether I figure out I will get that definitive or Perfection Edition. But these Orochi Perfection Editions are amazing. There's like the color pages throughout. It's got a very, very nice texture to it. It's like rough, and the insides of the book as well are very high quality. And man, I love Umezz so much. And also other Perfection Editions that I have, which I've shown, is the Hebi Onna, so Snake Woman one. I showed that off. And also I do have the Fear, so Kyofu. There are 2 books in that Perfection Edition. One is like, it's got, both of them have a face on it, and then they have like gold and silver foil. I think I showed it very, very early on in my channel, maybe like 2 years ago. That one I've also read as well. So I think those are the only Perfection Editions I have so far. There are more. There's one called Wish, which I want. There's another one, I think that's called maybe Insect House, another one. But those ones aren't a rush for me. I think the next Umezz, most likely, that I'll get will be the Drifting Classroom. Because I only recently got the box set for the Nakayoshi supplements anyways. So a lot of Umezz to get through before I buy more. And so yeah, it's a great time to be getting into Umezz. You know, I know they only passed away a couple years ago, but it seems like they're putting a lot more time and effort into creating and releasing more editions of his works. Because I think that box set edition was amazing. Like the fact that we're getting all of these hard to find, expensive Nakayoshi series of his is amazing for like, what, 80, 90 AUD for those 5 books in that box. Great stuff. So if you're a fan of Umezz, whether you read in Japanese or not, it's just great seeing all these things pop up for him. But yeah, these covers also remind me of the kind of, what are they called? In My Name is Shingo, like those intermission illustrations that they had throughout. Those were one of my favorite things in My Name is Shingo. And I was kind of sad because another thing as well in relation to Umezz, they released a Zoku Shingo like box set, which I have the Zoku Shingo art book. That is the art book that is kind of like the spiritual sequel to the original series, and it's like all these paintings done that make up the story. But they released a new box set with that art book plus another like book that collects all of those big intermission illustrations that he had put in. So I was kind of sad because I really loved them, but I didn't want to pay for another duplicate of that, so there was no point of me buying that. But yeah, I couldn't have ever predicted that because I bought that Zoku Shingo art book like years before. So, and it only released, like this new one only released I think this year, so couldn't have predicted it. But glad that they're again putting more effort into bringing out all these cool books and art books of Umezz. So yeah, that was the Umezz section, and then I'm going to, this is one new book that I've got. So this is the 5th installment of the Tsuge Yoshiharu English edition put out by Drawn and Quarterly, translated by Ryan Holmberg. So here, this is called He Rolled Me Up Like a Grilled Squid, a very captivating title. And yeah, this is coming after the passing of Tsuge Yoshiharu, rest in peace. I don't know when I'm going to read this, because I think I'd rather like read it when I want to read it rather than read it like immediately. I only got this recently, and luckily it was like free comic book day, which I didn't know, so got a 20% off for this as well. But just to flick through some of these, I'll show you the stories that are included in this one. For Tsuge Yoshiharu, in all of these books there are a lot of information included in the essays at the back by Ryan Holmberg, and I have to, like, those essays are very, very dense, so you get a lot of information coming through from Ryan Holmberg, and so it's a lot to remember. Sometimes I have to take notes, so I'm not sure exactly where in his life Tsuge Yoshiharu was. I know specifically it says here that it's kind of past the stage where he had been getting success with his works, but it's kind of where the mental load that he has kind of unravels. I also do recognize this specific work. This comes in a Yagyo issue, the Swelling Outside, that I haven't read yet. I do have the actual issue, but I'm glad to see that this is here in color. I think this is the only color thing in the whole book. But of course, Tsuge Yoshiharu is a very seminal mangaka, so I'm excited to get through this, but tons and tons of info to go through. So yeah, Yoshiharu Tsuge. We have two more books coming up. The next one is already announced. I forgot the name of the next one, but I do know the cover. I think it was like orange, and then it was a very captivating cover as well, because it was orange and like, I think it was a woman vomiting into something, like some liquid was coming out of her mouth. So don't know when that was released. I'll have to double check that, but I will get into reading this whenever I do. And I think definitely once every book has been released for this English edition, so all 7, I do want to take my time and do a reread of everything from start to finish, because yeah, I've been reading Tsuge Yoshiharu for the past couple of years, and so it's a lot of stories to have read, and so I think going through all of those again in order would be such a great overview and experience to do. So that will come when the 7th book is released, so that's going to be a couple of years in the future, but I think that's something that I really want to do, just to have that reading experience again of Tsuge, because yeah, it's for me, Tsuge Yoshiharu is a very important mangaka. It's Neji Shiki to this day is one of my favorite one-shots, and one of my favorite one-shots that I've read, and the most like eye-catching one. I was very, very shocked. I knew about its reputation, but actually reading it for the first time was insane. Where I read it was, I have the Garo special edition of Tsuge Yoshiharu's works, so that was the first time I read it, not in English too, so insane. But yeah, now we move on just to the last book. Short thing I just want to mention. This is a work by Miyanishi Keizo. So this is my last book that I have for Miyanishi Keizo. So I've read everything else in my collection, Myla, Esther, Lyrica, Pipyu, all that type of stuff. I am missing still, I think I looked up beforehand, maybe 3 or 4 books from Miyanishi Keizo. One, I think it was a Rose one, there was a Basam and something one. So yeah, four books I would say still missing from Miyanishi that I don't have in my collection, but eventually I will find them. So yeah, I just wanted to briefly go through that, because I know there are a lot of fans of Miyanishi out there, and he is a very unique mangaka with such a captivating art style. Don't know what this one is about. I don't even know if... Okay, they are... Yeah, it is a short story collection then. Okay, I see. seems to have a couple stories with kappa in them as well. This looks quite different though, because it is not as heavy in terms of the ero guro. It seems not much. They seem more like myth stories, you know. We see kappa, all that other stuff. We're not seeing as much violence, so it will be an interesting read for sure. What's this? There's something underneath here. Oh, seems like it's like a edit to that. But yeah, this one, no plans to read it right now. I will read it once I guess I feel like it, because recently I did get through Myla and also Pipyu, which I did show in a recent video. But yeah, this is I don't remember what this means though for the title. Something like the story of roses falling over your head. No, flowers falling over your head. Something like that. But great edition, hardcover. Don't know if this is, I think it's not as rare as the other stories that I've seen. I think the rarest book probably is Myla and maybe Esther as well. But yeah, either way, that's going to be at the end of today's video, just going through a couple of announcements in the manga world. Not all announcements, but some that that I just wanted to mention and talk about. And yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.